One of the best things you can do to improve security of your online accounts is to enable two-factor authentication. Authentication is proving your identity. There's multiple ways to do this. You can authenticate yourself with something you know, like a password, something you have, a bank card, something you are, a fingerprint, and less commonly, somewhere you are, which is based on geolocation, or this particular system you are at, or something you do. Two-factor authentication requires two authentication factors, as the name suggests, to access your account. And most often this is something you know, your password, and something you have, a temporary code. But some two-factor authentication also use a fingerprint or even an iris scan. There is a debate whether or not this is a good idea, but that's an episode for another day. The easiest way to get a temporary code for two-factor authentication is through an SMS text message. However, this is not the best way to do so. If a hacker is trying to break into your account and really has their sights on you, they can simply spoof your phone number and then redirect the code that is supposed to go to you to them. A better method is to use a physical token that changes numbers on its display, or to use an authentication app, neither of which can be easily compromised unless the hacker gains access to your cell phone or to your token, and if they gain access to your cell phone, you're probably pre-logged in, so you're screwed anyways. However, you should be aware of what you are installing. Do you trust the maker of the authentication app of your choice? Is there a reputable company behind the app? Is it asking strange permissions of you that you're not exactly comfortable enabling? These were questions Android users should have been asking before installing 2FA Authenticator, the vaguely named authentication app that actually made you less secure. The French mobile security firm Pradeo first noticed this app in the Google Play Store that appeared January 12, 2022, and had over 10,000 installations at the time. As an authentication app, it worked perfectly fine. It generated a code like it was supposed to that correctly authenticated you when logging into your accounts. But Pradeo dug deep. It turns out developers of this app didn't create anything new. They stole the open source code of the official Aegis authentication app, which is a legitimate authentication application, and injected malicious code into it. The first thing you'd notice that was a little off was the permissions, but the problem is these permissions weren't disclosed to the user. The app would send data of everything on the user's device back to the hackers so they could have the opportunity to construct targeted attacks. Password security was also disabled, and most importantly, third-party updates could be downloaded from the internet and not the official Google Play Store, and it would even act in the background as the app was shut off. Remember the downloading updates off the internet part that I said was important about 2 seconds ago? 2FA Authenticator used this to download a screen recording malware known as Voltar. 2FA Authenticator itself is a dropper, which is a type of malware that installs other malware onto the device, and it was also a Trojan horse, which is a malware that a user willingly installs, assuming it to be legitimate. Voltar not only recorded your screen, but every keystroke you made, even autocomplete kicked in. So any site you logged into on your phone was compromised. This information was of course sent back to the malware creators to gain access to your bank account or any of your other accounts, and well, if you're using two-factor authentication on your bank account for this app, that is bad news. At the time of creating this reporting, the creators of the application are currently unknown. And thankfully, simply installing the app and its unique package name, which you can find on the Play Store page, seems to be a simple solution that works. Thankfully, this app was not on the Google Play Store for very long. It was only up for a total of 15 days, so not many people had the opportunity to actually download, use it, and have their credentials stolen. I hope everyone who did download it is completely aware of the situation, removes the application themselves, and is able to change their bank information before anything bad happens. Thank you to Roxanne Sao at Pradeo for the news of this recent app. One more thing I would like to make clear is that this should not scare you away from using two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is one of the best things you can do to prove that you are who you are, so a hacker cannot get into your account. What you should do is ensure that the app you are using is legitimate. Use Google Authenticator, Authy, or even Aegis that I mentioned earlier. Don't use random apps with few downloads and few reviews. And most importantly, thank you viewers for tuning in to this episode of Bite-Sized Cybercrime. My name is Chloe Tonis, and until next time, stay secure.